Call to order this day, June 30th at 2:03, the Budget Advisory Committee. And first of all, do we have a quorum?
We do.
Shall we do a name call?
We can.
Roll call?
Chair McCloy,
Here?
Vice Chair Bergman,
Here.
Ms. Hull,
Here.
Ms. Engel,
Here.
Ms. Major,
Here.
Ms. Howard.
Here.
Excellent. Okay, we have one department to present, and as Ron told me before everybody came in, he is officially Jane today. So I asked him if he could call me Tarzan, and he's going to present the HR budget. And then we have a variety of subjects to go into, but let's finish off. And I do need to tell you one other comment that I did, I'll share it with the group. This is our last departmental presentation. The only one that Ron and I kicked around when Paul presented, and Paul has this massive area. The presentation last week was kind of up there at 50, 60,000 feet. We're in the grind, next year we'll keep that one in mind to make it more the detail. That's part of our value, we get down into the dirt. So, we'll talk and present the HR budget, please.
I thought you were going to call me Jane. But
I didn't want to call you that.
the HR department, as you know, the HR department takes care of course, personnel issues and the insurances that the city has. There's 4 employees in the department, an HR assistant, the HR director, HR risk management coordinator, and the HR specialist. In the budget book, it starts on page 33 is the HR department.
Yep.
And, you know, there's not much change within the personnel category. It's basically mostly looks like the funding for the pay increase. The one category is of like .31 professional services. There was a large increase in expense, but it's due to the expansion of the amount of background checks and credit checks that are, and for cash handling that are required. And .34 other contractual services, the city is going to get an electronic applicant tracking system to be filled out online and sorted and sent to departments electronically, and that's the purchase of the $3,000 in the .34 there. Other than that, there's not much else of significance in this department. I know Jane wanted to say we are going out for bid on, the health insurance. We budgeted 5%, but we're looking we're 5% estimate on the health insurance. Originally it was 10%.
Okay.
Dental and life,
Originally, we had 10%.
10% in the budget you got there.
Right.
Maybe we're looking closer to 5%.
Okay.
We don't have the dental and the life insurance yet. Those are still budgeted 10% increases. And property liability, those are budgeted 10%. So like I say, and she's working on something to try to go out for bid on the property liability insurance. And she wanted
Yeah,
me
we
to
had
relay
we
that
had a
to you.
good year. We had a meeting with our representative. So that's why he said he was comfortable us reducing it from 10 to 5, because from their analysis, and they're a good company, their analysis, it wasn't going to be, it'd probably be around the 5 range.
Is this the HR or the property?
This is on the health insurance and stuff.
Okay.
Where we thought it was 10.
Yeah.
The reason we changed it to 5 is we got a pretty good report from our contracted consultant who handles that, and they work with all the time. And based on our results, and they're worried because other cities are seeing over 10%, 10 and 15s, but because of our history, we had a good year. So he doesn't anticipate it. It's only 85% that it's probably going to be around the 5% mark. But he was comfortable enough with us two conservatives. We asked, you're comfortable enough that we could take that out, and he was. So it's not set, but all the indications and all of their complicated formulas they use that the insurance company will use for us, we're pretty confident we're going to be at the 5, so we could move down from that 10%.
I think it was a valuable thing to do last year when we went out and shopped.
It was.
They store that one in mind.
Yes.
You know, if they think they have an easy patsy, you'll get 10. They know that they're subject to review, but that's a great story.
Yep.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, that's,
Could I ask one question? And I'll call you Ron. Regular salaries and wages. It's up 4.7% versus original budget this year. I would expect that,
the 3%?
yeah.
One of the employees got a little additional increase. I think she went to a different title last year and with additional responsibilities. I think the risk management coordinator.
So risk management coordinator is a full-time job?
Well, part with a lot of the other personnel issues. It's a combination of the personnel issues and dealing with the insurances.
How many FTEs does the city have?
Oh, about 350? Find
And
that number
part-time?
for you. Full-time positions, I'm sorry, 331.
Okay. So we have 4 people in human resources?
Yes.
Okay, let me ask you a question. I was gonna ask if Jane was here, but I'm sure I know the controversy of 4 weeks ago with the fire department. Let me call it non-standard pay and my version of standard pay. Standard pay is either a salary or an hourly rate times the number of hours. Have we looked at any other areas that have what I'm gonna call non-standard pay? And I don't know, there may not be any other areas.
Are you talking about like,
Any others that's not salary or hourly rate? Let's say,
with other departments besides the
Yeah.
fire? Well, the police has some, they have their
Do they?
certificate program. Sometimes there's tool allowances or shoe allowances, there's callback pay. Those are
okay,
some of the main ones.
okay.
But they go across multiple departments.
But we have been self-auditing to make sure any of those,
Yeah.
we're trying to do it.
That's what I'm trying to
But
get.
our auditor is in HR, it is the next audit up,
Okay,
HR, so he is into all the files, and I'm sure he'll come up with, if there's anything, but we have been, since that commission meeting night, we have been trying to self-audit, and first thing we went to was the police, and they don't have any of those
always
situations.
good. Best
So,
to self-audit.
Yes.
Especially after that get,
So was the self-auditor who brought this to the attention of the board?
the city auditor,
City
is
auditor.
our newly hired last year's city auditor,
Internal,
yes,
okay.
and reports directly
directly to
the
the
board,
commission.
not to anybody,
Correct.
city employee. And it came up. It's good. I rest at ease. If you're saying, I thought you would, that we'll kind of self-audit, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not like we were talking big bucks, but it gets headlines.
I know in
And
the
you don't need it.
in the 70s or 80s, there's a document that confirmed that. I just can't find the 70s or 80s document, so I had to be humble and go onward. But it wasn't just created by osmosis; it was there. Some former city manager, son wrote it because we didn't just start doing it. Just in the archives and in the dungeon of records, I couldn't produce it. So obviously, if I can't produce it, then.
Yeah.
But again,
Nobody trusts your memory.
it was an easy fix. Well, like I say, we traced it back to city managers in the 70s, so, so however it got there, we're fixing it, and I already wrote the policy's written, and we'll take the new contract to the fire, to the board, and they'll approve it, and it was it's one of those, a lot of man hours and a lot of everything, but it's a real easy fix, so. but-
So it was a carryover just from the 70s or something?
It was,
Yeah,
if I could give my brief public version of, there was within the fire department, an extra pay for, like inspections that was in the union contract. But it got carried over to.
yeah.
the
We've got employees
non-union
who are
employees.
non-union and union, of course. the union only negotiates for the union people. So back then with our salaries low, we're in the bottoms. Now we're at least in the middle and the bottom. And so whenever a union got a benefit for the other firefighters, those firefighters that are out of the union, lieutenants or son, it was usually just given, it was given to them also.
Okay.
The board, they didn't bargain for him, but it was management's right to, okay, you got $500 for a shoe allowance, we're going to give the non-union people who have to wear the same shoes and everything you do, we're going to give that. So it was benefits that was just brought over to them.
Okay.
For this in particular case of these two items that the union got, we didn't get, we just can't find the documentation that established that way
It's
back.
about
And
a little under $6,000 per year. I mean,
They were,
5,800.
and everything was
For-
approved in
for
the budget
shoes and
process.
things like
now for,
Just-
I remember, that's what the newspaper.
no, it was,
Basically, the people that aren't paying union fees are getting the benefit from those that are,
Yes.
that they
Yes.
have that get done.
yes.
Yeah. That's
But see, it's easy now because what I would do in these days that you didn't do back then is if I had a promotion and there was benefits that they got as a union and they weren't going to get it good, I would just incorporate in the salary I offer them.
Right.
It would be simple nowadays. They didn't do it back then and we just continue to practice. For instance, if I get a new promotion lieutenant, he comes out of the union and loses some pay, I just incorporate the pay I offer him in his new position and then all that goes away. But back then, they didn't choose to do it that way. They just almost like a Me Too, we used to call them way back in the day, a Me Too clause, and they just did that. So, but it's an easy fix, and it was just a lot of drama, but it's an
more
easy fix.
because you don't need those. You
No, I'm looking, believe me, I'm
You
looking,
don't want to go through that again.
I'm looking everywhere.
Okay, excellent. Okay, is there any other questions or regarding individual departments or particularly HR? If not, we'll move on. We do have many items in the new business, and, many are interrelated, I would say, because that's how much money we're going to have at the end. So the first item on there is proposed millage rate for next year. Now, again, I know it can't be, it's not a separate item from the unfunded, unassigned balance, because at the end of the day, we're gonna get so much money in, we have budgeted so much money to go out, and there's a delta there. So it can go toward millage rate reduction or unassigned, you could increase the unassigned balance. I know I simplified that, Ron, but, so what are we saying there with the, and I'm hoping we can do this as like a discussion.
Are you talking like, since the taxable assessed value is now about 12%, and there's
Yep.
a little bit excess is what you're trying to,
Right,
what do we do with that money?
yes.
Okay.
That's a little excess, and, again, our insurance rate, I don't know, because we don't have, and maybe you have a better handle on this, what that gap is finally at the end of the day, because we all know we have options. Well, we have multiple options, but we can increase the unfunded balances.
Yeah, I
We
mean,
can
I could go over-
consider a tax rate reduction.
I'm sorry.
But,
Well, since your budget book, I've got another budget book now, and I've put the 12% in there. I've come to a new budget total. The total budget, and we're talking, this is a general fund, that's where the unassigned fund balance and the millage rate is. So the total general fund went up about $768,000. But some of it was used. We increased, the pay increase from 3% to 5%, so that took up $160,000.
and can I ask, I was going to ask, we're going to increase the salaries this year or next year? I know we baked the 3 in for 2022.
Well,
Are
For
we
23,
Original budget,
the budget book you got
Are
there.
we considering doing anything salary-wise in 2022?
Not that I've heard of, no.
Okay. I didn't know if we were looking because of inflation, gas, and the squeeze on the people, if we
Right.
were looking at something.
Well, that's why we added the two, because originally October 1st is when they were going to get the 3% that we had budgeted. But instead now, October 1st, you know,
Okay.
which is coming up pretty fast. October 1st, when this budget goes in effect, we've increased it to 5%.
Okay, so that's where we're.
So they will get it October 1st this year. It's the 2023 budget, but they get it in 3 months.
Yeah,
When
okay.
the-
So it's addressing our inflation situation, gas prices, all that stuff.
Yeah, and the fact I told you we did
And
preliminary,
October's not bad.
we did preliminary with the cities, and I think the average is just over 5% for the cities around us, the Largos, the Dunedins, the Oldsmars and stuff. What
But
am
are
I-
our salaries comparable with theirs?
That's why we had to do the 5, because they're comparable, it was comfortable as it was, but their average of going up in October's, the average of all of them is 5.4% or 5 point, and none of them are set in stone now. They still got to go through the process. But right now it's proposed, it's like just over 5%, the average. So this will keep us up with the other cities in the area, because their average, what, 5.3, 5.4, something like that.
I've seen some cities at 4, between
Yeah.
4 and what you're saying, to 5.
Yeah, they did an average, and that's the average. So several people, in fact, Dunedin's at a 3, and they're working to bump theirs up because they heard those same figures. I think Dunedin was the one who was in the room with Largo and everybody and says, we need to do some work because we're at 3. I said, well, we're at 3 and we've already done the work. We got, we got to keep up. So,
I kept thinking with all this going on, should we be looking at another? And you're right, October 1st is a new fiscal year. So by putting it in the 2023 budget, we've done it on a timely basis because gas prices. Okay, got it. Okay, didn't mean to interrupt, but where were you on the 768,000?
Well, we like to say we increased the 3% to 5%, so it was additional 2% cost. In the general fund, about 160,000. We went through and revisited the fuel costs, so we've budgeted about $76,000 more for the fuel since the, diesel price is now up over $5.50 a gallon. We had some cuts. I remember some of the departments, we had some
Yep.
cuts, so there was $23,000 in planning. We took another item out in general fund non-departmental, about $20,000. We try to go through the personnel to see, okay, did some positions get filled? Did some people leave? And maybe we can make some adjustments. Some people might have family coverage on their health insurance, so that might save some money. Maybe the new person doesn't. So we had about 7,000 of cuts there. So that left, the number I think you're looking for is about $482,000 is available revenues over expenditures. Now, that could
And what
increase.
was my number before, 768? That was,
Well, the budget went up 768,000
Okay.
from the budget book you've got there to how it's sitting right now. Now, that number could go up a little bit more if we are able to reduce the health insurance from 10%
Got
to
it.
5%.
yeah. There's still some unknowns out
Yeah.
there. But the big, like the tax
We-
revenue is, in the assessment, you have it in there now?
Right.
Okay, so the delta is 482, or call it half
It's
of that.
currently sitting at 482,000.
Okay, got it. So, what are the options with this? I was trying to take it down to the increasing the unassigned fund balance, or there's the other item on here, proposed millage rate. Okay. What are you thinking? I'm hoping we can,
What am I thinking?
yeah, or anybody.
Well, I'm hoping we keep the millage rate the same. I just got back from my conference, and a lot of the talk, I listened to all the economic people, is the R word, recession out there, and then you got the inflation. My thought is, if they can just wait a year if they want to reduce the millage rate and not do anything this year, my ideal thing is, okay, keep the millage rate the same, no new positions, let's just see how the next year comes about, before we do anything.
So what I'm hoping at the end, it's because we don't have firm, everything's not locked in stone on the budget yet, that from a budget advisory committee, we can make a recommendation based on the knowledge as opposed to a hard firm.
Right.
Okay.
What's been the history of the millage rate? Like, what does that look like?
Oh, excellent chart he has. But,
Yeah.
That's the one chart I didn't bring.
but you
Well,
you
we
were-
presented it.
We were at 5.45 for a number of years. And then about, I think, 6 or 7 years ago, when we went down to 5.42. It was more, I think, symbolic, because the amount of the decrease was maybe $50,000 of revenue. Then we went from 5.42 to the 5.37 we're at now. And that wasn't maybe another 80,000 we went down. So annually, it is between the 50 and the 80, maybe $130,000 of revenue
Right.
we've gone down per year, that going from 5.45 to 5.37.
And even the 5.37, to a degree, was symbolic. It represented about 90,000, if I remember.
Right.
Okay, so keeping in mind that I know we're a finance committee, but we also, there's a political element that goes on. So,
And this is
so it's
just,
5.37 currently.
but,
Yes.
so, and 5.45, that was, you said, how long ago? I'm just
Oh, at
curious
least
to know,
10
like,
years
how
ago-
it-
at least
So
10
not
years
that
ago.
much movement in
No.
10 years. So what is that, like, a small bit of reduction would not be worth that much money either way?
Well, like I say, from 5.45 to 5.42 was about $50,000 of revenue. From 5.42 to 5.37, it's between 80 and 90,000, I think, as Claire was saying.
But now with value so much higher, another couple, okay, yeah.
So would it even out with value so much higher at a lower rate?
Would it even
Oh,
out?
you could do a mathematical calculation on it.
But I think like to your point, right now, there's so much unknown.
Uncertainty is a word
Yeah.
too. I just, what's going to go on in the next year. I just, the last time we had the recession was the first time my being here where the taxable values went down back in 2008, 2009 for about 3-4 years. And luckily, we had the reserves, the unassigned fund balance to help cover us during those years.
It's
So that's what this does.
called, it's more or less, in my mind, safety money. And for the interest of everybody, and we have new people, could you tell us about what's required in the 20%? And
We have the fund balance policy. It's a 20% minimum of calculated based on the expenditures. Right now, that would come to about $5 million at that 20%. We've been hovering, I think about 5.2. We've been hovering at 8.8 million unassigned fund balance actuals for the last 5-6 years. We've just stayed right at that number. We've been able to balance the general fund without
Found the
using any
millage rate.
unassigned fund balance, so.
you found it.
I found it, yeah.
And it speaks to Tarpon Springs' financial health,
2008, and then
having
flat
this
percent.
access here. Again, if we have a major catastrophe, we're pretty well funded. But I had a gut feel that exactly what Ron said. I'd love to see,
Thank you.
and I had in mind, did you know that I had in mind $500,000 when you came up?
You've been mentioning that.
Yeah.
So-
That all be retained in the unfunded balance and not consider a millage change until at least next year, see what happens next year.
Right.
I mean, we're well above the base requirement of 20%. Where are we, Ron, around 30-some%?
Well, let's say I've got my presentation, just pull that out here. And that's the thing, is that we're at 32% at the end of last fiscal year. It's 20% is the minimum,
Right.
we're at 32%. It was 5.5 million is what that 20% is at. I think in the graph I sent out before, my worry is if we keep it, stay at 8.8 million, expenditure totals are going up, so what you base that 20% on.
Percentage.
So that minimum's gonna keep going up. So my projection was that in 5 years, we would be at 25% if we keep at that 8.8 million, if we don't try putting some more money into it.
Our percentage would go down, but we'd still be above.
We'd
And
still
just
be
for
above the
people like me,
20%.
I'm brand new at all of this
Yeah.
stuff. What are we saving it for? You said like a natural catastrophe,
Go
right?
ahead.
Mostly, it's mostly that's general, it's having 2 months' worth of expenditures, and a lot of it is, we're a, Gulf Front community with the hurricanes and stuff. That's our one main reserve we have out there.
And how much
It's-
time did it
it's
take
li-
you to get reimbursed?
FEMA,
Right, when we had Irma, there was a gap there.
no less than a year. It was more than a year before you.
Wow.
Okay, yeah. It was-
So in terms of if we're relating it over to our personal money, I liken it to a rainy day fund. You don't know perfectly what is gonna,
What it's
but it's
gonna be.
nice to have that cushion, and I know there's a counterbalance that says, instead of taking all that to the fund, to give some back to the citizens in tax.
So that's what I'm curious to know. So if, let's say for a $200,000 home that's homestead in the city of Tarpon Springs, they're gonna take a big hit this year because with the increase in the value, and that might be a surprise for a lot of folks that they don't see that coming. What would this mean in dollars for them?
Well, they've also got the
For
Save
just-
Our Homes.
Right, no, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Their homestead.
Give them
If
your
they're homestead-
formulas, Ron. You got that formula I love. Give them your formula.
Go ahead,
My
board
formula-
members. The Save Our Homes maximizes the increase, I can't remember.
25,000, is it? What do you do?
I'm sorry, the Save Our,
Save Our Homes,
right, well, part of it is your taxable value is going up. Maybe your value went up 10%, but it can't go up more than the CPI, or 3% at most per the property appraisers.
the actual taxes.
Actual, that you're getting taxed on for your home.
Assessment.
So, yeah, if it went up 10%, you're not gonna get charged on that extra 10%.
Right.
It'll still be at the most 3%.
Obviously, I just pay my bill every year and just,
It's nice.
I didn't know that. So I'm
Ron,
excited. I was
whatever
thinking, oh
money
God, it's
you
gonna go up
need,
12%.
I'll pay it in November to get the 4%.
Okay.
So
No,
I'm just trying to figure out dollar-wise, like if we, because I can see the gate, like putting $500,000 in the fund is good. As a business owner, it would scare me if I only had 2 months' worth of expenses in the bank and we live where we live. So I get we're having that as more would be nice. I'm just curious to know, kind of what does that mean at the end of the day to the homeowner in town? If we did lower, like is it a lot of money, is it a little money? I don't really know because that's just the Tarpon Springs millage rate. There's the rest on top of it,
county,
so I'm
the
just trying to get
library,
it down to
right.
really what
Good
is this worth to the homeowner if we were to take it down a couple of points versus not. Just as or to take the approach of, you know what, this year, because I totally get that, let's just save it all, and then if we come out of this another year unscathed and we have another surplus, then we can talk about next year lowering it down.
Would do you have, if hypothetically, the tax millage was reduced 5?
He's got a formula if he'll.
I know,
remember and
I
give it
know
to
You
he-
mean like 0.05?
Yes.
From 5.37 to
5.32.
5.32.
Just, that should give,
It would take about $120,000 of revenue away from the city.
And then you divide that over how many people?
It's
So-
not gonna be that much, I think.
Question, we've got 25,000 people
You
in
got-
Tarpon, but how many?
How many
property-
homeowners?
How many homeowners,
Right,
right.
so what is it? What's the answer? How many?
How much per,
How many homeowners are
Well, we
there?
know the total value
oh,
of
I'm
the
not, I
property.
don't have the number of homeowners yet.
But you know the total
We don't know
value
how
of
many
all the
parcels
property we
have,
have, right?
Right.
Taxes.
So what's the total property?
10,000, I thought the number used.
Okay, so 10,000.
That's on your formula, Ron. You did a formula for me because I did all that.
Yeah.
Yes.
But very wide variety of values, so what's the total value of the property in
Pro-
Tarpon Springs?
Property values, $2,442,380,861.
could you be
Probably
more
won't fit on
exact?
there.
Did you say that again?
$442,380,000.
Now faster. Oh,
Yep, it won't fit on there.
Right.
But, I can do a factor of it. So that would be times 1,000.
I have Excel if you want.
I was just trying to get like a.
Basing it on
for-
10,000 properties, or is it?
Oh, no, I'm not doing, I was just offering, I have Excel if that's helpful to you.
But I was trying to figure out, like, so for every $1,000 worth of value of your home, what is that really worth to me? Like, is it worth the stress of the city losing the 120,000 if it's not worth that much to the citizen who's a property owner?
But it's not just the money. I mean, it's not the $10 or whatever. It's just the appearance and it's
That's
the
what I'm saying.
transparency.
Is it
I think
yeah.
it's wor- I think it's worth,
Yeah.
for me as a property owner, to say that, yeah, you guys are being diligent, you care about me as a property owner in the city of Tarpon Springs. That's how I view it.
And that's frankly,
wasn't it-
the last two millage changes, I'm gonna put in that category, were
Symbolic.
symbolic as opposed to
And
pure
wasn't it like
financial.
$18? I feel like it was
don't-
like it was like.
You might have that,
right
I don't
around
have
But right when
$20.
everything's going up,
The 0.5% that they dropped it last time, which would have been from the 2017 rate of 5.42 to 5.37.
And please,
If my memory serves right. it was
you're probably right.
I'm
It
probably
wasn't-
wrong.
Because it wasn't,
It was somewhere around, it was like
it was,
less than 50
I'm gonna
bucks,
put it in
20
the
bucks
category
maybe.
more, a symbolic. Okay,
Well,
and we do, and whatever we recommend as a group, it's only a recommendation. The board, the commissioners are going
Yeah.
to have the final say. But,
just a
I think we should come up with a recommendation, and they can choose to accept it, or if they decide to do partial, some reduction and some go to the fund, our job is to come up with a recommendation.
5 basis points would still leave 362 to go.
So see if you went down to 5.37 to 5.32, you have a $200,000 taxable home, it's $10.
Okay, yeah, so that $20 was.
I'll find my I got a whole formula that'll show you what the value of the home is per 100,000, how much he gives back. And he did it for me. He's probably been on all the other stuff, but I'll find the formula, and you can figure how much it gives back. You're right, when we did that, and that's what you're gonna see some of the cities doing symbolic ones, but when you add up to the revenues for the city and how much you're actually putting in people's pockets, it's a couple cases of soda, it's there, and but
But if you
I'll dig that up
wad
and find
all
it.
up and keep it in,
Yeah.
I'm gonna call it rainy day money. I don't know what the future is gonna be, but I think Tarpon
looking good.
Springs has a reputation of being financially strong, and part of it deals with that cushion that you do have
Yeah.
in case of emergency.
But they'll look at it, 'cause I'm sure some of the cities realize, and again, the biggest realization is, I'm not sure how much all those numbers in that budget aren't low because of the prices now. I mean, you may end up in October and December, and you're gonna have a shortfall from a lot of the things we estimated. You're gonna start having shortfalls. So I think the cities are gonna realize, yeah, we may be getting the 12%, but in reality, all of our costs and stuff go up. We're probably gonna need a lot of that money. But I think you're gonna see some of them do maybe a symbolic rollback, like he just said, just to say, at least we're getting, even if it's $10, $15 a person, at least we're giving you something back for this and stuff. So, and that's what the commission will have to wrestle with, on there. In reality, what it's gonna put in the homeowner's pocket is not much, but it's still a symbolism. Hey, it went up this much, we're giving you some. And that's what all the commissions around are gonna wrestle with.
Problem is next year, if you have to raise it, that 5 points the other way causes a.
And that's what happened to Clearwater. The funny story of Clearwater is we always,
That's a good point.
when we had our tax on our rate, there's 5 full-service cities in Pinellas County: Largo, Clearwater, St. Pete. We were second from the bottom, but Clearwater was lower than us. They kept keeping theirs at 519. They wouldn't move it. We're in the 3. So we couldn't say, like we wanted to say, we're the lowest millage rate of full service. You have police, fire, everything.
Right.
We're the lowest because Clearwater did it. But Clearwater hung that 5.19 so long that they finally imploded and had to move it up to almost 6 because they just got so far behind. So they went from a drastic 519 almost to 5. They had to do a drastic, which we were cheering because, okay, now we're the lowest of the 5 full-service cities. Now we can finally claim the millage rate. But they tried to hold back, and then they had to do a big increase
Citizens
to
weren't
cover.
happy, if I
No,
remember that.
no, they weren't happy. But it was reality. They were way under budgeted, and some services were going to get cut if they didn't do it because they just stretched it too long of saying, we want to stay lowest, and it catches up with you.
And I think that's part of the thing. Back when they had, they call it the Great Recession back there in 2008 and 9, we had the reserves to help cover us. But since then, up until now, we were able, even though there are smaller decreases in the millage rate, we were able to decrease it, like Mark was saying, not just Clearwater, but the other full-service cities were increasing it during the last period of time. And I know I talked to Finance Director Dunedin just last week, and he's hoping they need to increase their millage rate. They need the money. They've been hovering right around there. They've got a 15% minimum fund balance, but they've been going up and down below, right below it and stuff.
Is this the 15 or 20? Is that decided internally, or is that an
It's internal by the
external
city.
obligation?
You know, different cities, and I did a little survey, and it was in the presentation, they range between 8% and 20%, and there were some emails going from finance directors today, some are even more than the 20%. You know, you have to find I think 20% is a good solid number there to keep it at. Our Government Finance Officers Association recommends 17%, 2 months worth.
17%, 2 months worth.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So just, again, combining, I think these two items, I think as the Budget Advisory Committee, we need to make a recommendation. Again, that's a recommendation to the commission. They might see it differently, but that's where I'd like
Well,
us as a group.
this other presentation here on the unassigned fund balance, different options for contributing to that, we need to take that into account before we can make a recommendation on this, don't we?
Say that one more time. It's just,
Okay, again, we're talking about increasing the money in the unassigned but, so we can't just separate the discussion on the millage rate from this discussion.
no, that's why I'm saying they're the same discussion.
Yeah.
You gotta discuss both at the same time.
Is there really a question of, is that, because you could still do almost 400,000 to the fund, even if you did a small millage decrease, but is $120,000 for the city more valuable than $10 per citizen, really, the homeowner? That's really what it comes down to,
Right.
of what's more valuable overall.
Anybody have a gut feel? That's why I wanna make this
Would it be something that you'd want to do, I know you mentioned 500,000, but what if you said, well, we'd like to see every year you do $200,000 a year? The reason I'm saying that is the general fund expenditures go up about $1 million a year. Well, to 20%, that's $200,000 a year to keep it going up with the level of expenditures and stuff, so. My thought, one thought was, doing at least 200,000 and have it in the year per year that you say, okay, we want to commit $200,000 a year to the unassigned fund balance based on the expenditures going up about $1 million. The general fund expenditures going up $1 million every year has been the average.
Meaning the budget's not balanced unless you have that earmarked as a way to maintain that,
Right.
like, moving forward.
Right.
Yeah.
You would put a line item in the budget, an expenditure reserve, whether you do 500,000 or 200,000, we put a line item, say it's 0.99 in the one department, reserve for unassigned fund balance. You want 200,000, you want 500,000, it's an expenditure item, but we don't touch it.
And I'm of the opinion right now, we probably said, we're in kind of good times. Good time, I mean, the assessed value is up. We're getting some nice government money, the 12.8 million, and I know there's the other 600,000. It's lots coming in. Now may be the time, and I know you can't technically say that money from the 12.8 is going into reserves. You've got to spend it, but money is fungible. It just seems like now would be a good planning time to plan a little bump.
You know, we keep the ARP, the 12.8 million, we're keeping it a separate fund.
Yep.
We're not, none of it's being put
I
into the
agree.
general. Some cities are, they're covering salaries and stuff with some of their money in the general fund.
Who
get the
decides how
12.8
to use that fund?
The ARPA money?
The unassigned, yeah.
Well, that's going before the board next week. The board already approved 5 projects.
Okay.
Now,
so
we've
they-
still got about a little over 10 million that they need to decide what they want to do with it.
And is there a time limit for when it has to be used by? Or can it carry over?
No, it's got to be obligated in the form of a purchase order contract by December of 2024, so 2.5 years from now. All the cash has to be gone,
So
spent
that's why
by
you're
December
suggesting doing it in
2026.
increments. Okay, that makes sense.
But we also know that, okay, that's separate. You have the normal, the budgeted, what you normally budget. I would call it capital expenditures, projects. You know, you can always adjust that a little bit downward.
You know, and with inflation, we're seeing that the money that we're getting is not going as far now with the cost of things.
Joe's gonna solve all that.
And where are we at with the other cities, our millage rate? Are we the lowest or almost lowest or?
Well, of the full-service cities, we were the lowest now. We were, like Mark was saying, a little bit higher a few years ago, but we were able to
now.
graduate, and they were going up during this
So I'll
time.
tell you my view, this is.
Oh,
this is
that's
my
what
view.
I'm looking,
Okay, my view is we decreased the millage rate in 2017 or end of 2016 once, and then there was another decrease in 2020.
right.
Given that we're the lowest and there's a lot of risk I see coming, my view would be to leave the millage rate where it's at, to avoid having a decrease and then increase again next year. That's probably what I would submit.
I agree with that.
I do too, because the other thing too, I think when everybody opens their property tax bill, the number of their new value is gonna be what's so overwhelming to them and significant, that the little bit of the millage decrease is just gonna get lost. Like, at least do it in a year where you can get some credit. And it's not so, when it's not shrouded with that big number, that big scary number.
Yeah, because the property values.
Okay. Anybody, Don?
Well, since we can't view this separately, we gotta talk about the unfund balance. You're talking about taking all the money, most of the excess money this year and I would rather see us do it over, like this, over a period of time, increase it each year, because yes, your rainy day fund, your expenses are going up, but with this global warming, you don't know how many unknowns are out there right now. So I think we do need to increase the unassigned fund balance. And I would like to see us do it gradually rather than just put a lump
Annually,
sum in
yeah.
right now, yes. So I would say, yeah, for the time being, leave the millage rate alone and then take one of these plans
Stagger the additions.
and stagger the additions, or, because each of these is only projected, you've only got these projected for 6 years. I don't know how you want to do it, because some is, you got an alternate plan there and 2 different annual plans. I would prefer to see something like that rather than a one-time sum right now,
So if we leave the millage rate alone,
for the time being.
and we don't, so what do you propose you do with all the overage, if not all of it into the unassigned fund?
Well, let's just say hypothetical, let's deal with 300,000. Jump your 200 to 300. That, as we stand right now, and I know it's subject to change, that would leave another 180,000.
Correct.
But that means each year you've got to find that 300,000, and you may not have the excess
Each year.
each year. That's why I'm like,
I
I'm looking at the
agree,
lower
you know.
number of 200,000.
Right, but for this year then, if the millage rate stays the same, then that's gonna mean that we have 482,000 in excess. If it doesn't all go into the fund, where would you, propose that money goes?
And that's why I was looking at this year with the bigger amount because of all the good news. I don't know we're gonna have all that good news
No, I
next
I
year,
was
like the
asking him
assessments
because
are
he
probably,
said
you know, are
that
they
he
gonna
didn't
go
wanna
up
do a
another
big lump sum.
12% next year? I don't know that. Real estate does have a bubble to it.
Teachers.
Yeah, the city has averaged about a little over 6% with the increases the last 5, 6 years. So all of a sudden, this big jump to 12% was quite a change.
I know it surprised
Yeah,
you.
that's a big change. It's a shocking change, I think.
Melody, what do you think?
You know what I think, okay?
Tell me.
I think that the real estate market is going to plummet, and I think we're going into a major recession, and every major economic indicator indicates it. I think the Fed funds are gonna continue to raise interest rates, and I think we're in for a really hard time in the next few years. That's what I think. Sorry.
And that's basically what we're hearing. I don't know if you saw the graph on the first presentation, which showed the millage rate going, and the assessed values going down and the revenues going down after they called it the Great Recession.
Right.
Hopefully it doesn't happen, but I think I'm hearing the same thing you are and stuff.
And, okay.
You're talking about
If
taxable
that
value?
does,
That comment you just made?
if that does happen, if we have the downturn, the money that's in the fund can be used at that point,
In the unassigned fund balance,
yes.
yes.
That's why I keep bouncing, stick it there.
You can even,
Because this future is,
The only thing is I don't think it's only gonna be 1 year. I mean, if this happens, I think we have at least 2 years,
right.
if not more.
certainly could.
So, I mean, we need to plan
Okay,
for
so
the long
we'd
term.
have money in the left pocket in case the downturn does, that you can reach in and rainy day fund and handle a downturn.
We had it going down from 2009 to 2013 was the lowest year of our taxable assessed values. And
Yeah, I
then
have.
gradually
4
started going
years.
back up, yeah.
That chart, yeah, that's also this chart here. I've got all your charts from before. Yeah, you had a 640 million loss in taxable value from
Yeah.
08 to 2013.
So bringing it back to the decisions to make today with uncertainty ahead, it's really all about leave the millage, if you say leave the millage rate alone, all of the overage of almost 500,000 should go in the unassigned fund then, which would make the most sense. And then who knows
But
what
we
the
can't
next year
spread
brings.
that out over 4 years, according to what I'm hearing.
We can,
We're just talking about, a one-year
So we have to
horizon.
use all of that
you
if we
don't have
put
to
it all
use
in.
it,
You don't have to
it's
use it.
saved.
It's there. I mean, it's
You're
like-
you're talking about the different fund, you're talking about the ARPA funds, I think she's mixing those up a little bit.
Yeah, no, I agree.
The money that has to be spent is the ARPA fund, that's money
That's
for
separate.
projects, that's separate.
We're just talking about the
The
general fund right now.
unassigned fund does not have to be spent
No, no,
It
it's
can
not.
sit
It's-
there.
We don't want that.
It's rainy day fund. It
for a
sits
long
there.
time.
It can
Okay.
sit there. It's
Sorry
your
about that, I think
savings
that's probably
account.
confusing. We have like
Okay.
30-some funds in the city.
Trust me,
I'll get it.
it takes a while to learn all the
It'll
lingo,
take
and
me-
I
yeah,
don't have it
okay,
down yet.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, then I agree with that.
I'd like to make, again, as opposed to a hard firm, what we're seeing, to recommend to the board to put the excess in the unassigned funds.
Okay.
And again, next year's another decision. I don't know what all those factors are that change, and they could change. If I was that good, I'd be doing much better in the stock market.
Well, and at the same time, we have a lot of money
You're doom and gloom. Yeah, I'm ready to go out and I'll sell everything. I'm selling
like-
everything. I know.
But I am old enough
decision
to
on
see
that.
cycles.
I know,
Okay, and
I
I've
know.
seen like 2 or 3
But
in
that
my
makes it easier to
lifetime,
save
and
the
it's pretty
excess, because
predictable.
Right, you got money somewhere
Yeah.
else that they need to be spending.
Okay. Okay, I don't mean to jump us along, but I will jump us along. Proposed employee
Or
salary.
do we need to make a recommendation first?
Well, we do need to make a recommendation, and that's what I'm trying to get, as opposed to, what's the other word I'm looking for? A hard firm,
It's in the minutes, and then he
you know,
generally goes. through
the Budget Advisory Committee has looked and reviewed the
You can only
budget,
use it for certain projects and
We're-
only on their certain
I mean,
funds.
it-
So it's like
recommending
a totally separate
this.
thing.
It may be
If
your
that
next
money is
meeting,
to us, then we have to
which
spend
is
it.
the start, your next meeting is the
No
start
recommendations there.
of
They're
a
deciding
couple
on
of,
what
well,
projects
we're having a
to fund.
pre-meeting next Tuesday on the budget, but the commission you've got one more meeting before they go into their series of 2 budget workshops to talk about all this stuff, so you do.
We do have one more meeting
And,
before.
and you may get a feel Tuesday night when a lot of these factors you're talking about tonight are gonna be brought up to commission. You may hear their feel of what if they wanna go to projects or that, but the two city commission we have a pre-budget meeting, which we hadn't done before, but we thought with a new board and stuff, we needed to give a before their two budget workshops. So that's Tuesday, and then their two meetings are July 19th.
July 19th and the 28th.
July 28th is when they workshop this budget. So your next meeting is
21st.
21st.
Yeah, that
So it would
Thursday.
between their first and you'd have a good feel of what you see, and it may help in what you want to recommend to actually make your recommendations at that
We're
meeting.
non-political. Okay. Okay. Can we all take this home with us and think about it and just go, we might want to come in with a recommendation before the first meeting, which, we're humble people. The commission can say, hell no, what the hell were they thinking? Or they could, at least they know we're like a bouncing board. We're thinking. They may disagree, they may wanna,
Yeah, and again, we got three new people on,
Yeah.
like we have here, instead of just learning this whole process. We got three brand new ones that are gonna be, as the new ones here know, it's a lot of stuff to catch up on and do, so it's gonna be interesting.
could I ask everybody here to think about it for a day or two? Then you have my email, just tell me what your thoughts are.
No, that'd violate the sunshine law.
Oh, does it?
Yes.
Tell me, and then I'll
Oh,
tell
is
you.
that against the rules?
So if you email me, I can email you individually.
Okay, can we do that?
I just want to get really clear on something. So the questions are, like, if I were to say, if it wasn't a violation of sunshine law, I would email someone and say, leave the millage rate alone, give a 5% increase for employees, and all the rest goes into the unassigned fund. That's all we're really looking for. Or some alternative, some kind of alternative use of
We
the
haven't
money.
talked about any
Those are the-
alternatives. other
Right,
than
that's
that.
what that's what I was kind of saying to you, like, if not all to the a lump sum and
oh.
unassigned, where does, you
Where
know?
would it go?
I think the alternatives, you could say, let's
still
spend
better
more
to think
money on
about-
projects. But we have a
Have all
bunch of
that money to be
projects. We
spent,
have all
that's
that.
other money, yeah.
Mark will tell you,
Yeah.
he said it last time, you probably have a list of $40 million
Ooh.
worth of project.
I do, and that's one of the things for Tuesday night also. Here is 5 years, here is all the projects. You need to start making decisions on what we're gonna start with and how we're gonna spread out the next way of doing it. That's one of their, in fact, that's, to me, the main purpose of the commission this budget year is to start saying, what are we starting with? So we can slot that in the budget. Here's the projections the next 5 years. When's the fire station gonna be built? When's this gonna be built? When's that gonna be built? That's
What I don't know, is
that's-
that stuff.
that's the major things that they need to grasp real fast and set the tone, because we can't really budget a lot of the project for this year in ARP if we don't know the ones we're gonna leave out, because there's 40 million of them, they're all needed. That's one my thing to the board, just picks, anyone you do is gonna be good for somewhere. So they gotta kind of lay that out for the next 5 years of the things that have to be done, and that's one of the reasons, again, for the workshop. But the best way to do it is not email. The best thing to do is think about it and come back to a meeting and talk about it. That's the most cleanest from a sunshine law and perspective and stuff. That's the cleanest way to do it.
So the alternative uses of the money will be more clear after they figure out how they want to spend the ARPA funds?
Well, yeah, but I don't know how long that's gonna take throughout
Oh,
the
that's-
budget
that's
process.
gonna be a long-
You got their two meetings. It could be August, but you could hear a direction, you could hear kind of their concepts and ideas, but, again, I'm more talking about the process. I worry about you doing anything out of the meeting with your opinions and going together, and it's just real shaky. It's best everybody goes back, looks over and thinks, and you come back to a meeting, and then you round table what y'all think and make a vote.
What's 1% of overall salaries? What is that number? An increase? increase, how much is that to increase from
1%
He's got that formula too.
The
Yeah.
2% was 160.
I guess 85.
185?
It's right around there. I know he,
So every percent costs the city 90 grand annually, right?
Let's see here.
I think it makes sense to wait to the next meeting and see what comes out of their board meetings anyways, be more to discuss.
I'm not sure what
I'm
I'm
gonna write
thinking
down
about.
all your formulas so I can.
I was 'cause I'm
The
not sure
only
what I'm
thing I'm
thinking about in terms
hesitating
of
on-
1%
alternatives.
is,
I would like to have,
Good
you know,
one. He's
ideal,
got
I'd like
nothing.
us
She
to
said
have
I'm
come
gonna
up
do
with
it.
an idea, and the board can, they can, you know, Board of
Ignore,
Commission can agree 100% or not. They don't always agree with us, but we, as a finance group.
well, it's gonna be more in the introduction phases next Tuesday. They'll get into it probably in
Say
their two other.
1%?
Yeah, just 1%, I just want to know.
Of salaries, about $200,000?
So it's 200K, and is that fully loaded with taxes, everything, workers' comp?
No, I didn't do all those.
So it's more?
Yeah.
Okay,
You take that times maybe 1.2.
200K, okay.
But I thought the
It might
difference
be like about
between,
240,000.
but the difference
Or
between.
1%,
Is that what, yeah, I thought.
I was gonna say, the difference between 3 to 5% increases was only 160,000.
Your figure's for 2%, right? Or 1%?
Oh, you're talking about the, let me get that out for you.
He's on the wrong formula.
Okay.
Well, no, she just asked for 1% of salary, but
Yeah.
that should add up the same.
You're talking about all funds then?
I'm talking about citywide.
Citywide.
Because you were talking about a 5% increase in salaries citywide.
What does
Oh,
each
not all of
1%
the
give you
salaries-
number-wise?
salaries come in the
Total
general
city,
fund.
$135,000.
Okay, the 5% increase goes to who? Just to clarify, I'm confused now.
Fire, everybody except police and fire union employees, they have their own salary contracts.
Okay, so excluding that, a 1% increase citywide, loaded, estimated is what? And I mean, in workers' comp, everything, payroll taxes, whatever.
The 1%, 135,000.
So 135K,
5% is 675,000.
okay.
That's covering all the funds, water and sewer, general fund, sanitation.
Got it, thank you.
okay, we'll jump back to that at the end of it and determine what we want to do. Proposed salary increases, okay. So you've indicated we're going to put it in at 5% for 2023 budget, effective.
October 1st
October
this
1st.
year.
Anybody have any issues or question with that?
I'm just curious, so when you said that 2% from the jump from 3 to 5% was worth 160,000 total, you meant just out of the general fund?
General fund
Oh,
only.
okay, now that makes more sense
Sorry
to
about
me.
that.
No, I wasn't clear. I thought that was the total of what it cost, not just out of the general fund.
That's just general fund.
Okay, next item is positions, unfilled and vacant. And I think, Ron, you had a handout. Tell us what this handout is.
Well, we went through, Shane and I, we went through and got all the vacant positions up to date through today. Their salaries, their benefits, and then the total on the far right. And then have a status column to say where they are in the process. If they're open, they're accepting applications. Applications are being reviewed, they've got them all in, maybe they got a date cut off. So just trying to go through all the positions. We went by fund, by department, and by fund, by department within the funds. And in general fund, the totals like with benefits, 593,000 is out there as positions that are currently, currently open. Total for the city, about $1.6 million worth of salary and benefits that are currently open, but we're, like most of the departments are either have the applications out there, they're reviewing the applications, or they might be later in the process, maybe they're doing background checks.
So this would be, if somebody left, you have a vacancy, right? Would this also include positions that we had approved but haven't been filled yet? say approved for the 2022 budget.
Yes.
It doesn't, I'm asking, I have a question, have anything in there for increase in headcount in 2023?
No.
So these are just open and they're already budgeted.
All of the approved positions in the city, ones that were approved last year, plus the new positions that are currently open, haven't been officially filled yet.
But they're included in the budget.
Yes. These were the budget, these are numbers were pulled from the budget document.
Just strikes me, there's a lot of vacancies, but I know it's a tough market.
Is this what I'm trying to ask is this a normal amount of vacancies, or is there more than normal? Is that what you
I
were?
expected more.
You expected more?
I thought
Okay,
there were, because I
okay.
know, but I think they've been able to hire some of their positions.
And I think-
I've seen at
yeah.
times where there's even more positions.
And from the state conference I just went to, there's a lot of cities far worse off
Far
on looking
worse,
for,
okay,
okay,
good.
so we're in comparatively of the whole state, I think we're right there in the middle, good, compared to some of them, especially.
Yeah, that's
some
all I heard at
especially-
my conference too, was
Yeah.
just not being able to find people for the positions.
Do we think that's because of the baby boomers that are retiring, or do we think it's because of salaries? What do we really think the reality of it is if people don't want to work since COVID? I mean, what,
I think it's a combination of things, some people left for quality of life, started to retire early,
Also, the private sector is paying tremendously
Tremendously
good right
more.
now. Our inspectors, a lot of the people we're losing, I mean, it's not just you get a 5,000 raise, it's 20, 25,000 to grab one of our building inspectors and take them to a private company to do it. You're not, before you were talking about trying to beat a city with a, $5,000 more offer or 3,000. Now the private sector come in swooping up these people and just, a city can't compete with them and stuff. So that's a lot now because a lot of things booming. Now, if the things that are booming start going down, that could change. But especially some of the skilled positions. And then the strange effect is it's hard to find somebody who'll go outside and cut grass now. So it's not only just the positions that are good in the market to go, those type of jobs where you get 30 people, oh man, that's good. I get the city benefits and stuff and just have to go, you're seeing a lot. And again, this is statewide. This is not just us. They're seeing some of the jobs that normally would be labor and application intensive to fill, aren't there. They're not applying. So.
I employ a lot of skilled labor, and we've lost 5 people in the last month that are moving further north for cost of living reasons. And I think a lot of housing that we have here is, there are a lot of people from higher costs of living are moving here, and they are working remotely, getting paid the same. They're getting paid Boston wages to live in Florida, no state income tax. They're taking homes that would otherwise be held by people who would work locally, and I think that's causing a real confluence of problems that's going to increase over the next couple of years.
I lost 2 people unexpectedly that can work remote now.
Yeah, same thing. All of those things kind of, I think, are combining
Right.
to make it very challenging, especially in Pinellas County, because like some other places are trying to pull people, come here and fuel our economy by working remotely here. We already had plenty to pull people to this area, so now we've got a double problem where we have a great area to live, a great income tax situation, and as people can come here and
Right.
work remotely
You're
for other
right,
people.
I never even thought about it, but I'm being retired and just walking around and talking to people, a number of the people in our neighborhood work remotely from some northern state now.
And
They
then
come
they're,
here, they're like, oh, it's so much
who's-
cheaper for us to work here.
But if you need
and we
boots on the
live here."
ground in this area, that's trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, with this document, I mean, is there anything we can do at this point? No, I'm not going to volunteer to be the golf pro. It's been a few
It pays more
years.
than your current position.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
We need somebody to mow things.
No, but, I mean, it's good information. There's, keep on, right? You're trying to do it. There's nothing that we can do or address here?
No.
Okay. So thank you for the information. Let me jump down to the sixth item, discussion committee meeting times. Now, the meetings are historically at 2:00. Again, open discussion.
It would be nice if they were in the morning or later in the afternoon. I literally, it probably cost me $1,000 to come to this in the middle of the day, at least, because I have to drive all the way, and I lose half a day of work, and I've got 40 employees, and they're based, and I'm hands-on, I'm not like, I'm in.
I'm sensing that.
Yes, okay, I'm very hands-on with my team, and so my leadership is gone right now, since 12:30. And I've got shifts going till 10:30 tonight, so.
How long did it take you? Where are you based?
Oldsmar? Yeah. So that's why I was just wondering if we could do something in the morning or later in the afternoon, which would, make life easier. Obviously not when you bring other departments in, if they have to work overtime, then that doesn't make sense when you have people coming in.
Yeah, give me some feedback from, I need to understand we need to understand by shifting it, if it, let's say, let me just throw out a hypothetical. So give the, what if it's moved an hour from 3:00? Usually, we can wrap these up in, it's less than 2 hours. But
And what's wrong with mornings? Just, I know you don't like them. What about everybody else? Does everyone else hate mornings?
What time
Mornings?
is morning?
9 o'clock?
Oh, it's fine with me.
Any time of day is fine for me. It's all the same.
What's the matter, too early for you?
I will personally call and wake you.
what the
I will bring
hell?
you- I will bring
People
you
function at 9 o'clock in the morning?
I will bring you breakfast, okay, I promise. I'll make you breakfast.
And a cup of coffee.
Okay.
Well, bring us
New
some
coffee shop in
donuts.
town is delicious. You
It's
should stop there
delicious.
first on your way.
Just put it in the Keurig,
Yeah,
I
it's
need
very
a new
good.
Keurig
Annie
that
did a good job.
automatically turns on.
Earlier is never a problem. The problem is later, and depends for regular, if you're going by regular meetings, I think our day is, we just gotta remember we're televised and stuff, so.
Right.
If there's a 6 or 6:30 meeting over there, we'd have to be done, because they can't set up and do 2 meetings. So it depends on the day and the night later. Anything earlier doesn't affect anything with but that's why, because another board talked about moving their meetings to the evening. The code enforcement board is talking about it.
Right.
But the placement of them because remember, this is a rehearsal hall too, so
Yeah.
at night there's,
Performance.
like I had to bump one night of Beauty and the Beast Tuesday of their rehearsal because a commission meeting got extended. I had no date to extend it to, so I had to bump Beauty and the Beast from the auditorium over there. So
could
it would just be I know. I told them I told the commission, you're making me bump, because I was going to bump them. I had my meeting I was going to set with his budget meeting, and I didn't want to bump, and I didn't do it so I wouldn't bump Beauty and the Beast, but I blame the commission for bumping stuff. So the earlier is not a problem. That's the only problem, as long as it's the right day. Now, if we do meetings like this every week, these we might have, the time could go and stuff, but we just have to be
agree.
cognizant on the night and the meetings, the 3 or 4, usually one, I don't know what comes on the third, I don't know if there's a night meeting on these days. I don't have the schedule in front of me, but that's just something we'd have to look at if we're moving to like a 4 o'clock meeting.
And,
We just have to look, and it'd have to end we usually do.
Tried to answer
Sustainability.
the question
See, we're on
last
the
week.
4th
I don't know
Thursday.
how the new commission will use us. Under Mayor Chris, he wanted to use us as a sounding board on a lot of things, which was great. May be a different lifestyle. I'm willing to consider an earlier.
Our third Thursday.
I would definitely prefer
Okay.
early morning compared to evenings, just because I value my evenings too much.
Do you?
Third Thursday, the only evening conflict would be sustainability.
Okay. But early, there's no conflict earlier, because
No.
TRC, they don't meet in here, do
They
they?
meet
Some-
in the
Okay.
conference room.
So if we looked at 9 o'clock, don't say go any earlier.
I'm bringing you.
I don't,
I'm bringing you specialty coffee. Okay.
9 o'clock. Does that propose any issues? Anybody speak? This is open discussion.
I would say like I can try to flex, but if something comes up, I just, won't, I can just skip a meeting if I have a conflict.
No.
We got a full board, so.
Yeah, we do. Does anybody have any issue?
As a general rule, that's not a problem. I would just, if we change it, I just have to look downstream what other appointments I may have already scheduled and adjust accordingly.
I'm kind of in the same boat.
Now, do they need a board, do they need
We'll
a,
have to bring back a resolution,
and they have to go to the board of commissioners or just to them?
just to
We
them.
just gotta check the process.
Yeah.
There's a because you got in the rules, the meetings are this time, so we check the process.
I know, I'm just moaning a little bit lately. So does anybody speak your piece if you have an issue with moving to 9 o'clock? Does anybody, because what I hate then afterwards, I call it whining, bitching, and moaning. You know, if we move I'm allowed to because 9 o'clock's early, but if we move these meetings to 9 o'clock, does that pose any issues? Does that pose? I mean, I agree
other
with,
than work, yeah.
I'm very understanding. I don't have that issue. And I'm willing to sacrifice my body. I'll go to bed earlier the night before.
It's 9, it's not 6. Okay.
Oh, 9's that number up. Okay. Could we do whatever steps are necessary to look at 9 o'clock in the morning?
And we'll bring it to the next agenda,
Yes.
whatever the steps are.
Fair?
Sure, thank you. Really, thank you.
Okay. Now, we'll conclude
But
here.
Thursdays are okay, right? Thursdays are good.
I hope we,
Well, I just want
Yes.
to make sure. Okay.
anybody?
That's good, because
I know.
Wednesdays I know are
Don't
bad.
look at your
have to
next
make it work.
92 Thursdays and see what.
I just think then you'll have your whole day ahead to do so many amazing, and you'll have that
I'm
early
gonna have to go
start.
back to bed. Okay, we'll conclude here in a minute. Let me just jump back on these first two items. In terms of what we want to recommend or when. I know I could be flexible. I'm of the fan club that says to make the recommendation to the board to put the excess funds into the,
Unassigned.
unassigned funds balance, and to hold off on any change in millage rate.
So are you saying you want to put all the excess this year, but not add additional funds to the unassigned balance annually going forward?
No, look at the situation each
Okay.
year. I think we're in great income year. I mean, I hate to keep saying about the 12.8. We're getting cash, then just need to look at it year to year.
Okay.
But I think we're in a year that we make hay, and there's an opportunity here. And it just, that money could be used in the future if needed.
Right.
It's just a sign of strength. You know, like you cited, the other communities might be down at under 7%. Guess what? If they have a huge problem, they could have a hard time.
Well, and one other thing too, I mean, I went to my annual conference, but, you know, the debts and the bond issues and your credit rating. You know, if you start getting down, you know, somebody's at their 15% or down, it's gonna say, oh, they're, you know, maybe they're going under their fund balance, and it might affect their credit rating.
Oh, I agree.
Right now,
That's
we've got a
good
good
point.
solid, you know, 32% that we're at above it.
Wait, walk through that one more time? I
The
didn't
credit
quite.
rating of the city.
If what now? Now, if we.
If you got down and you're hovering or you're going below your minimum fund balance, you know, your credit,
Okay,
It might
okay,
affect
okay,
your
okay,
credit
okay.
rating.
Yeah, we don't.
And
want
it's
that.
not like that money disappears if it's put in there. If it's needed, then it's used.
Well, and if you did have a hurricane and you had to go down below the minimum, in the policy, it says, okay, you've gone down below the minimum, you have 2 fiscal years to recoup it back up to the minimum.
And then if you're not able to do that with overages, you have to make cuts to make up for that. to get
You have
it
to
done.
have a plan to be able to get back within those 2 fiscal years.
That's when the
back to
budget
your
advisory
minimum.
committee meetings aren't as much fun.
Yeah.
Headcount reduction is
Well, we froze
Difficult
positions
things.
back,
Yeah,
after
we
the
froze 'em.
recession. That's how, Mark, that we able to have said, I think it was, if positions were vacant, they had to determine whether to fill those positions. Are they needed and critical?
because I was gonna add one thing to the list in the recommendation, and I'm hesitant in saying this. I think we have to be careful with headcount going forward, and was even debating whether, as a recommendation, we want to recommend next year holding the headcount where it is, plus these already approved.
So you
I know headcount usually comes the last item.
Yeah.
It's,
When we see how much money, there's no sense talking about a head count if there's no money there for that head count.
Who's ultimately responsible for, who's accountable to know that, to your point, with HR, that the workload is there to need 4 people? Does that your job? Whose job is that? Because everybody coming here, who am I to say that whether they do or don't need X amount of money or people? I don't know anything.
It would be my job to present that, but lately, other people have dictated it, the need when as he knows, last year I was real skeptical about adding the people they had in the budget, but it was an outcry from some people in the public and some commission members, because I'm always skittish on people. What do we get, 5? What they give me, 5? And usually a city manager, you're jumping up and down and happy with it. I'm on the way conservative end, and those are recurring costs. And freezing is good, but you never want to get to the position where you have to cut if things go bad, to tell somebody in bad times they don't have a job. And that just worries me, because we almost did that in the beginning of my city manager reign. We are in the place where if we weren't able to freeze positions and do that, we were going to have to lay people off in that 2009, 2010, 2011, which is the worst feeling I could ever imagine as the city manager in bad times, telling somebody they don't have a job. So I'm always skittish like he is and stuff. And, the positions worked out I got last time. I might have waited a little bit. I think this time there's gonna,
I think we did we do a 3-year study last year?
Yeah.
Getting the input on the position.
I mean, we're gonna have the push for
And
that.
we came back and.
Yeah. We're gonna have the push for the grant writer, and that's all nice. It seems like good, but somebody forgot, they told me 2 years ago to track our grants and the money we've got, and we're almost at the point we got more grants than we can manage, because it's nice to get all these monies, but you have to manage the projects. And we're close, but the push last year, they didn't get that. They got the sustainability position, but they didn't. I'm sure they're gonna come back full force on the grant writer position, which is nice. But again, look at all the grants we've gotten with us and staff, and we do got a consultant we can go to do things. We're pulling in the grants right and left. That's one thing you may need to send out again, the newest of grant. We've got, between that and ARPA and all the other money we got, I don't know, the position I may need to ask for is someone to manage all the projects we've got. So it's always delicate on position. I think that one, they reluctantly didn't give they want more done public works wise, and right now they've already put too much of a burden on us than we can handle. We either got to scale down some of the flowers in pots and all the other things, or we need the workers to handle them. They are at a breaking point where that you can't go both. You can't add all these things and not people. So I imagine they're going to look at a couple positions for that, and I think a couple police officer positions. I think that's the 5 that's going to come up that we're going to discuss, because that's the one I'm hearing. because we have a better chance to get the extra firefighters on the grants that are available coming up, and from the county with their count. We're real close to the county council, them paying a good portion of 3-person salary, which would solve the fire departments. We're not in that place with police. So
are these grants like multiple years and then stop? Or, you know, like
Yeah.
the emergency.
But they're for projects, as you know, as you can see from the road back here, that was a disaster, and we've got so many man hours. You know, projects take some management by city personnel, and if they go bad, like we've had a couple go bad, it's things. So we'll know a little picture Tuesday night, because we're going to talk about what positions, because I haven't proposed any, and of course you have to have the funding. You know, one of the places they get the money from is that $460,000. If you're really looking at positions, so I'm gonna get that feel Tuesday night, because again, you know, some of the positions were kind of forced last time, which are nice. They put them to work and they're working full forward with them and stuff. But
And that's just my gut feel also. I know last year we looked at it, we added some headcount, but the plant in the commissions, be conservative, be conservative. You know, it's easy to think that salaries are a variable cost. When it comes down to cutting, nobody wants to do
So
that.
if you hire the firemen on a grant, do they know that they're hired on a grant
well,
basis?
it wouldn't be a grant. The fire one is the county would pay. We'd reach the numbers of service calls and stuff where a large part, how much of their salary would be paid. It would be permanent in perpetuity for 10 years. That would be perpetuity and stuff.
Oh.
The one grant, there's a grant out there they could get, which they pay for 3 years. Then we have to be ready to take it over. That's what we got last time. This one that the fire is close to, they're close for the numbers countywide for EMS. This is mostly for the medical stuff that the county pays in for us to do the EMS. They're real close to the numbers where that they would add at mostly county expense.
The county pays us for a certain number of paramedics. And so that's 3 units right now. They're thinking about adding a 4th unit, which would be 3 employees. So they would fully pay for the
those
paramedics.
Yeah.
Like I say, we get about
In
1.6
perpetuity. So
We get about 1.7 million, I think it's in the budget book here, from the county to fund those paramedics.
so that would take care of that
I was
public
just
safety
confused,
side of the
because you
house.
said you had a
Yeah.
grant.
Sometimes, well,
That
we
was
did
paying
get some
for
of the
a position.
paramedics because we got a safer grant a few years ago, and they paid for the first 3 years, but 75% the first year, 75% the next, and then 35% the third. But then we took over those positions, which are now being paid by the county.
By Pinellas.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Okay.
So are you suggesting you want to make a suggestion or recommendation?
Just
now,
a recommendation.
Or waiting until after we get a feel for how they're looking at things? And doing it at the next meeting?
I'd love to make a recommendation.
Okay.
That, because I think we have our ideas can be accepted, they can, but they're
Oh, yeah.
based on,
Yeah, that's just recommendation.
Yeah.
They don't have to do anything with it.
they're, at the end of the day, they are the board of the commissioners, they have the final say. But I just think from a overall management standpoint, I'm looking at this as a business. That's what I'd recommend for this year. And I'd also throw a clause in there, be conservative on headcounts. They can listen to it, they can not listen to it. They may come back and say, we wanna do some level of tax reduction. But I'd like to make that recommendation. So unless somebody wants to vote contrary, I would email you what we'd say. And we're basically saying that these are good times, take the excess, maintain Tarpon Springs' financial strength.
I thought we were coming back after thinking on it tonight at our next meeting.
Well,
Am I
the
confused?
logistics of that sounded
Okay.
like we might be living
So do you
too
need
much in the gray area.
Do you need a motion today for this recommendation?
Yes.
Okay.
I was hoping not to get it that formal, but it's a recommendation
Oh,
to
you'd,
the
okay.
board.
Yeah, but you want a motion from this body to make that recommendation.
Yes.
And the recommendation is,
Let me summarize, and we may clean up the words, but that we're living in good times, good cash flow for this year, 2020, 23, to take the excess, which, and you correct me if I use the
I
number
was just wondering, you know, you've
480.
got excess, but you also have uncertainties going into the next.
We always have uncertainties. That's why the stock market's that way. To budget, to take the excess to the unfunded,
Unassigned fund balance.
as opposed to taking
Is there a place to put money for
reduction in millage.
uncertainties?
Yes, that's what we'd have a
Unassigned
line item in the expenditure budget to say, okay, for the 482,000, this be reserved for unassigned fund balance.
And that would address all your uncertainties.
Yeah.
So that's one, and are we doing one recommendation for all the things, no additional positions, leave the millage rate, and
I'd like to do it all as one.
all as one? Okay.
And again, I know I've got to be, as a group, need to be a little bit vague on the headcount, just stating to be conservative
Okay,
due to the uncertainty. Yeah. What's conservative mean?
I can make a motion for that.
Okay.
All right, I'll make a
Yeah, see if
motion, that we ask them to be, add the additional funds into the unassigned fund balance, leave the millage rate where it's at, and take a conservative approach on hiring.
You summarized it very well. Is there a second?
I'll second.
I second it, yeah.
Okay. And is it, okay, I'm not breaking any rules if I send an email? I have some thoughts how that should be worded, but that's basically the 3 points. I might,
And you're gonna be presenting it to the board, right, as chair? Or are you gonna attend the meeting, or,
I'll probably,
okay,
provided it's not 9 o'clock in the morning.
provided it's 9 o'clock in the morning.
Kidding, okay. Okay, let's see if there's anything else here, then we'll
But
move on.
you have to vote on that.
Could we have a vote on that, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
Ms. Major,
Yes.
Ms. Engel,
Yes.
Ms. Hall,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bergman,
Yes.
Chair McCloy,
Yes.
and there's 5, but Ms. Howard doesn't get a vote, but she can participate in the.
yes.
So, didn't want to leave you out.
Okay, moving along, and I'll fire some wording because just so the Board of Commissioners doesn't get, there's a logic and a reasoning behind this, and they can agree. Public comments? Staff comments? Another budget getting it done. Board comments, anybody? We're moving along rapidly. Next meeting?
So
July 21st, and that will be at 2 o'clock until I bring back either a resolution or an amendment to the rules.
Okay.
Okay.
July 21st, okay.
July 20th.
So it could be changed if you
After
email
the,
us.
yeah,
After
after,
that.
after the July meeting.
Oh, not till after. Okay, thank you.
Okay, next meeting, we covered that.
Get to sleep in another month.
Yeah, yeah, see?
Already booked it. Future
It set his
agenda
alarm.
items. In that, ours is the 21st.
We'll bring you some feedback from what,
Yeah,
we'll bring you
that's,
some
you
feedback
are-
for the meeting that we had.
Okay.
Because this is a work, this meeting is a work session coming up, but we'll give a synopsis and some feedback from it to you.
And it's a great idea having that preliminary meeting, even for the new commission. It's
Yeah.
just to get your head around the financial.
And we'll look for some of those charts, like those charts we talked about for the new board members here, and some of those charts we did in past years that are real helpful.
You mean like 200,000?
Like that, and some of the other document that you had that try to find some of those things from the past years, and we'll try to send it to the new members.
And the taxable value.
What we've done the last couple of years of explaining and stuff, that would really help.
If you reduce it this much, this is, yeah.
You
And
gotta
I think
trust
Ron
me,
had a
it's a different, it's a
PowerPoint on
lot
top
of,
of.
when you're hearing it for the first time,
Send it to
it's
her.
a lot different than from the private segment, seeing the financials, but you learn it after a while. Okay, were there any other agenda items wanted for this July 21st? We'll get an update on what's going on financially, but, okay. With that said, let's call at 3:33 in the afternoon for adjournment. Thank you all. Thank everybody for the input.
Thank you. Have a great 4th. Come down Monday, we got a great.